Welcome back to the For All the Saints podcast, and I'm absolutely delighted to have on the show with me today Michel Bolloré. Michel, how are you?
Good afternoon, Ben. I'm very well, thank you.
This is an honor to speak to you. I've been really excited for this.
It's an honor for me first.
Oh, thank you. Well, you have a brilliant book that is already very famous in Europe, and it's coming out and launching in the UK, and it's a brilliant book, God, the Science, the Proof, and you've sold something like 400,000 plus copies in France, Italy, other countries like that, but not in the UK yet. It's a new release for us.
Yes, the title, in fact, is God, the Science, the Evidence. The word evidence is slightly different of the word proof, because proof looks like a little bit that it is an absolute proof, when evidence are more something lighter a little bit. So the title is God, the Science, the Evidence. And yes, the book has been a very good success in Europe. We have sold more than 400,000 copies today in France, Italy, Spain, Portugal. But the book has been also bought by publishers in many other countries like Japan, Russia, Egypt, Araby, and many countries. And now it's coming in English, in all speaking English countries on the 14th of October.
Amazing. And you're an engineer and an entrepreneur by trade, but you worked on this book with over 20 scientists to put this evidence together. And to, well, I just wonder what inspired you to write a book about science and God. Like, do you feel that the effort that's gone into this, do you feel it's a personal mission for you?
It's very interesting because with my co-author, we were looking we were younger. We were looking for a book presenting all the evidence for the existence of a creator God, the scientific one, but the non-scientific one, including philosophy, morality, or some historical enigmas, and a book which would be made for the general public. And this book we were looking for was not existing, and we were very interested by this question, Olivia and I. We have been working for years on that, and when we discovered that the book we were looking for was not existing, we decided to make it ourselves. And yes, we made a mistake. We thought it would take 1 year. In fact, it took 4 years, and we had to hire and have people working with us. More than 20 scientists have been working with us to make this book. So it is easy to read because we want it for the general public, yet it's perfectly accurate, perfectly exact.
So with you working with over 20 scientists, I guess I'm interested logistically in how you would select them and how you would ensure what they were doing was rigorous. Like, did you have a criteria where all of the scientists had to believe themselves in a god, or were there
No, no,
people?
no, no. Many of the scientists we have been working with do not believe in God or are just agnostics. They don't know. It's not a criterion of selection. We work with people we have been meeting with. We have been very top scientists. For example, we have been working with Robert Wilson, who is a Nobel Prize winner and who has discovered the proof of the Big Bang. So he's one of the top scientists in the world. We have been working with several Nobel Prize. We have been working with people from different countries. And you understand, we need many because, in fact, in our book, there is a part which is cosmological. So for cosmology, well, we need people who are very good in cosmology. But for example, we have also chapters on biology. And for example, the leap from matter to life is very, very important. How life could appear on Earth. And of course, we have to work with biologists because it's something we have no expertise at all. And for example, also in philosophy, we are not philosophers, so we have been helped to have really some specialists of the philosophical proof to work with us, especially to to make something which is easy to read, because, as you know, philosophy has a reputation of being boring or too difficult, and we try to make it easy to read. So this is
No,
why we have so many people working with us.
brilliant. And well, my final question before we get into the more sciencey stuff is, why do you feel that the book resonated so deeply, and it was so popular in the countries where it was released in Europe?
Alors, first of all, it has been a surprise for ourselves. For us, it has been a surprise. We did not expect it. And now it's almost 4 years, or more than 4 years, that the book has been released in France. And we have understood that, discussing with the people. There is a very uh, there is a very big anxiety of people today. You know that in France, 55% of the population in France do not believe in God at all. And I think that in England, the figures are more or less the same. So the country is very divided, and it's a very important question. So there is a lot of anxiety among people and in families which are divided. You know, some the father is a believer, the wife is not, the parents are, the children are not, and there is anxiety about that. And people are really looking today they are really looking today to know if science and reason can say something very strong about, and they are very happy to discover that modern science has completely changed the picture recently with modern scientific discoveries. So they are very happy. We can see there is a real hunger. There is a real hunger in the general public to know more, and probably just the media are afraid of the topic, because if I may say, the media, which are materialistic, left, etc., well, they say don't like it, as you understand, and sometimes on the other side, they like it, but they are a little bit afraid of being criticized. So we have really to go through that. But once we have reached the public, the public is very interested.
And I like in the book that you don't just focus on the Christian God. It's just God. Like, we'll give the evidence for a creator God. You can decide yourselves what
Exactly.
interpretation you want to make from that. So it's very.
Yeah, exactly. That's very important. It's a very important point. Our book is not a book of religion or faith. It is just a book to answer one question: is there a creator God, or there is nothing? Which means that materialism is true. So it's very important, because if materialism is true, we are just animals. We are nothing. We are coming from chance and necessity. We are nothing. We are not more than big mosquitoes. Well, if it's true, it's better to know it, and in that case, let's eat and drink and dance, because there is nothing else to do on earth. At the opposite, if there is a creator God, and perhaps there is eternal life at hand, it's very important. We have to know. So our book is just to answer this question: is there a creator God? And which is fantastic is that the modern science has really brought evidence, very strong evidence, that materialism, which is just a belief, and a belief like any other one, is just becoming today an irrational belief.
Yeah, it's really interesting to reflect on that. And well, as we go into the more science-based stuff,
Mhm.
you'll have to forgive me because I'm not very knowledgeable about science. I'll do my best in talking about it with you, but but really, I'm here to learn from you, so that's fine anyway. But one theme of the book is that I guess the universe actually has a beginning. And well, first I would ask, why is that important, and how do scientists know the universe hasn't just been here forever?
Well, because everybody, and I say really everybody, agree that it is impossible for the universe to have an absolute beginning if there is no creator God. If we come back to philosophy, and a very well-known philosopher, Parmenides, he was living 2,500 years ago. Parmenides said in Latin, ex nihilo nihil. Well, in English, it is from nothing, nothing can come. Nothing can come out of nothingness, and everybody agree on that. So from nothing, it's impossible. And now we know that our universe, you and me, we are here. So if we are not coming from nothingness, something is eternal. It's necessarily. It's a certitude. There is something eternal. Or the universe is eternal, and then the question does not exist anymore, or the universe has an absolute beginning, and then a creator God exists. So in fact, it's a key, and it's a joint between science and philosophy. There is a junction between science and between physics and metaphysics, between science and faith. There is a junction, and one of these is the fact that if the universe had an absolute beginning, then there is a creator God. And now science has made such progress in the last 100 years. We have now in hand 6 or 7 evidence that our universe had an absolute beginning, which is really something fantastic and completely new. And you said you are not a scientist, but just our book is done for you, for me, for the people who are listening to this podcast. It's done for everyone. Everyone. It's this question is not very complicated, in fact. So everybody should know that it's very important, and it's very
So
good news for us.
yes, yeah. So would Robert Wilson say from that the universe had a beginning and it was the Big Bang? And is that what you would agree and you would
Alors,
forget?
Robert Wilson, who is a Nobel Prize laureate, is an agnostic. He doesn't believe in God, but he's an agnostic. He says he doesn't know. And he has been writing for us something very, very nice. He said something I think it's very intelligent. He said, if all this is true, between brackets referring to the Big Bang, if all this is true, we cannot escape the question of the creation of the universe. Voilà. And I think it's perfect. If all this is true, if the universe had a beginning, we cannot dismiss, we cannot escape to the question of creation. And I think it's absolutely true. Now we know it's true, so we have to face the fact. Just by this reason, it's not the only one. We can have today the assurance that there is a creator God. And our book is not trying to know who is this creator God, what is his name. We have been invited, for example, by the Muslims several times. We have made conferences for the Muslim, for the Freemason, for the Jews, for the Freemason, from Orthodox and many and evangelical, and we are not trying to know what is the name of God and what he thinks or what he wants. We just want to say today that a rational mind knows that materialism is finished. Materialism is dead. It's
Yeah,
already a big. It's already a big leap.
yeah, you do get that feeling too from a more philosophical standpoint too, and that this there was a movement where materialism was big and the new atheism movement kind of swept over and took over. And you do really get a sense, even in the UK, that the new atheism movement is just kind of dead. Like the answers that they're giving don't really excite anymore or intrigue. People are coming back to saying, actually, no, I everything's pointing to this now, which I think is great. It's a very hopeful thing, isn't it?
Yes, in the 18th century you are mentioning, science had been very important because why why did the philosophers started to be atheist? It's because the science at that time after Renaissance uh, were giving explanation of how the universe worked, and it seemed to say that it was possible to explain the universe without a creator God. It's Laplace, Newton, Galileo, Lamarck, Darwin, and Freud, and until 1900, say we can explain the world without any creator God. So, if we can explain the world without a creator God, the simplest reason to explain that is that probably it just doesn't exist. And then after people like Freud and Marx came and say, not only it doesn't exist, but in addition, is toxic, is a danger, is evil. We have just to get rid of him because it's because of the idea of God that people are poor or that they are unhappy. Let's get rid out of him and everybody will be happy. And it's very interesting because the scientists thought that materialism was the future of humanity. And in fact, all the discoveries which have been made during the 20th centuries, the one we are describing in our book, these discoveries, they were very surprising for everybody because it was like a bomb, it's it was like a terrorist bomb. It's very funny.
Another another idea that you explore in the book is that the universe is, or it seems, fine tuned for life, and that word is very, it's used a lot nowadays in Christian circles and apologetics of the fine tuning argument. Can you explain for those of us who may not know more in depth about what that actually means, what it means in everyday life?
Yes, of course. Uh, First, it's quite a recent idea because the beginning of the fine-tuning discoveries are dated 1960s. So it's an idea which has 50 years, 60 years. It's very recent. Since 60 years, we are able, with very big computers, and all the theories of the universe that we know, we are able to create models of the universe. And we know that the universe, our universe, can be described through 20 to 30 um, numbers. Well, some numbers, parameters, numbers. For example, the speed of the light. We know the speed of the light, 300,000 kilometers per second. Well, that's a number. Why is it like this? Why is it no more, a little bit less, a little more, and 30 numbers like this? I will not, in our book, we are describing these 30 numbers. They are very interesting to know, but I will just give one example. You know that at the Big Bang, at the very beginning, the universe has been expanding very rapidly, very high speed. And it's fantastic to know that we know that speed. That speed, we know it very well. And not only we know it, but we know perfectly well the 15th first decimals of that number. Imagine first 15 decimal. And with a computer, the scientists, have been able to discover that if we modify the 15th decibel of the speed of the expansion of the universe at the instant zero, then just one plus, then the universe does not exist because it goes too fast
Wow.
and it's just gas and there is nothing. Or if the 15th decimal was one less, then there would be a big crunch and all the universe go back and there is nothing either. Which means that the speed of the universe has to be fine tuned to the 15th decimal. It's really crazy. And for the 30 other parameters, it is exactly the same. So if we change the numbers, the 15th or the 20th decimal of this number, including the speed of light, then the universe does not exist. Voilà. This is very simply, and it's not a complicated idea, it's very simply, it's fantastic to say that we are a fantastic universe which is fine tuned. And it's important to know that the materialists recognize that because it's impossible not to recognize it. So, what can they say? That's interesting to know. What does the materialists say about that? So, they have only one solution. They imagine that there are billion and billion of universe, and just by chance, we are in the good one, the one which is fine-tuned, and all the other one are not so fine-tuned, so there is nothing in all the others. So we are just a lucky guy, we are in the right. So they explain the fine-tuning by saying that it's by chance, pure chance, there are many other universes. So this hypothesis, this solution, is really less and less acceptable, including an atheist like Stephen Hawking, that everybody knows, of course, especially here in England. Stephen Hawking, at the end of his life, he said the multiverse, because the name is multiverse, the theory of the multiverse is dead. Voilà.
Hmm.
And it's finished. All this is finished. We can't believe that. So there is no explanation today. There is no materialistic, reasonable explanation for the fine tuning of the universe.
Amazing. I'd
Yes,
love to
it
ask
is
you.
amazing. Yes.
Yeah, it really is. I'd love to ask you too, as a on a personal note rather than a scientific note, because you are by trade an engineer, and when I hear the fine tuning argument, I think of like God as this kind of engineer
Yeah.
doing these things, and I wonder for
He
you
is,
when
he
you
is, he is an engineer. He's a
yeah,
wonder. He's a genius. God is a genius. If I may
and when
say,
you're
it's funnily I say God is very, very intelligent.
yeah, it's funny when you put it like that, but it is like yeah, when you think of it like that, and when you're observing the world, have you learnt things from the world that help your own engineering yourself in the way, like, do you observe the world through the eyes of an engineer sometimes,
Of
and kind
course,
of
and
try
all
to
the engineers are doing that because you know that we are copying the nature. For example, for the submarines now, or for the boats, they are crafting lines in the nose of the submarines to do like the squares to increase their speed. You know, we are doing a lot of things. We are copying animals just to because the animals have uh, is also a very very intelligent creation. It's really remarkable.
yeah, that's really interesting. You also write about the mystery of life starting from non-life, and why is that so puzzling even for modern science, that question?
Because in fact, the number of evidence that there is a creator God are many. They are not one or two.
Okay.
One we have not been talking of is a new science, which is thermodynamic, which is completely independent of by Big Bang, and which says that the universe is weared out and will have an end. So this is now the discovery that the leap between matter to life. If we go back to Darwin in 1850, Darwin thought that life would appear very easily from a pound of hot water at the feet of a volcano, you know, with plenty of chemicals and some heat and some storm, lightning, and things like that. And then a cell will just appear like that. That was 1850. And for 100 centuries, everybody agreed on that. People thought that. And it's very interesting that in the United States, there were several laboratories trying to have experiments on that. Especially one is very well known in Chicago. It's the experiments of Miller in the 1950s, trying to, you know, to shake a liquid hot with lightning and magnetism and electricity, and then after looking in it and say, is there a cell there? Bon. But what is very interesting is that in the middle of the 15, in the 1950s, the DNA was discovered. And DNA, RNA, ribosome are computers. They are a language of computers. It's extraordinarily fantastic. And when they have discovered that, you know what happened to this laboratory? They just all disappeared. Everybody stopped to try to make from a primordial soup, because that's the name, the primordial soup, try to get a cell from a primordial soup, because they understood that it was just impossible. There is no chance that will happen. So all the experiments of this kind, which is to get a living cell from a primordial soup, all these experiments have stopped, and there is no other one anymore today. And this, in a way, is a fantastic proof that scientists have discovered that there is no chance that a living cell can appear from what was that hypothesis of a little spot of hot water at the feet of a volcano. That doesn't work. So, how did it happen? How did it happen? If it can't happen like that, so many atheists say, well, it appeared probably very far away on other planet, and it was very. But we are facing an incredible problem: is that the density of information in one living cell is 1 billion times higher density than in the best computers. So one cell is something incredible. So there is no way. So we have one more evidence that there is a spirit, there is a creator God.
That's really interesting. Um, so I'd love to hear from you too. What surprised you the most when you were writing the book? Was there any of the evidence that was brought to you by scientists that was kind of a surprise to you?
It's very interesting because it has been enriching my life very much, because more or
Really?
less I knew a little bit of all this, but I had to work with our co-author Olivier, with many people. So we have been digging, we have been deepening in our knowledge, and the more we have been learning, and the more we have been studying the case, and the more the fantastic it is. All we discover, it is just fantastic. The creation is something just amazing. You know, it's amazing, like it is said in the Bible. You know, if you are not admiring so much a creation, you're really you're stupid. Creation is just fantastic. It's just extraordinary. So it's very good to be a little bit a scientist and to, but even when we look at animals, we know that they are extraordinary. So all this has been very good, very happy. It's very happy. My life has been really improving.
I love that. Now, the later sections of the book, they they touch on philosophy, history, morality, and also interestingly miracles. I wonder why did you feel to include these, and what weight should people focus on these things over the bulk of the book, which is physics?
Just to come back to the beginning, we want to offer to our readers the possibility to have in their hands a book which the evidence, not only from science, but from 180 degree, a full panoramic view of, of what can science and reason say about a creator God. So, of course, we have a chapter of philosophy because you know that for many centuries, people were really convinced by the philosophical proof, and they are very well known. The philosophical, well, it's mostly crafted by Saint Thomas of Aquinas, of course, but some others also. Now, these philosophical proofs are not at all known or considered, and probably it's not right. And we want people to know that there are many philosophical proofs. They are what they are. I think they have a strong value. So we have a chapter on that. Then after philosophy, there is a chapter on morality, because we are both Christian, and if God does not exist, good and evil do not exist at all. Voilà. That's clear, that's simple. But in that case, we have to be coherent. If you are a materialist, you have to be coherent. If good and evil do not exist, everything is permitted. So we are taking back one part of a book of Dostoevsky, which is L'idiot, and in that book, the hero says, "Well, if God does not exist, everything is permitted." So, is this acceptable? For example, in a country, uh, for a country, could we vote in a country to kill all the Jews if there is a majority at the Congress for that or at the chambers? Could we? If you are a materialist, the answer is yes, because well, but it is so horrible. I say the Jews, but it could be anything else. Well, we could kill the old people, or we could kill the woman, or we could kill the whatever. But If there is no creator God, again, we are not more than mosquitoes and we are killing mosquitoes every day. So there is no reason, there is no good and evil if God does not exist. So I like to say to materialists, do you accept that? Can you accept it really? No, it's not acceptable because inside ourselves we say, no, that's impossible. So we know by our soul that it's not possible that everything is permitted. We know it's not true. So we want to have a chapter on that, which is very interesting. And after that, coming to miracles, yes, there is an implication. If you try to hold the theory that God does not exist, you have to have also to keep the implication that in that case, miracles do not exist. So for sure, that's definite. So there has been miracles a little bit everywhere in the world, not only in the Christian world. There has been, I know, a miracle in India for Hindus. I could have tell about that in our book, but we had no room for that. So we have chosen a miracle, and we just say to people, voila, you think what was this miracle? Was it a fraud? What is? Try to investigate yourself. Try to participate. Well, so we know that there has been miracle in the Bible. We know that there is miracle in the gospel, and we Christian we believe in miracles, but we know that the atheists do not believe at all in miracles. So it's well, now it's chapters are independent, and if people do not want to read this chapter or another one, if they don't like it, they don't have to read it.
Yeah. Uh, what's your response to when people bring up the argument of the God in the gaps? People who use God to answer things that science just hasn't explained yet, or we don't know yet. What do you say to people who use that kind of criticism against?
It's this story of to say that God is the God of the gap is ridiculous. Really, it's really ridiculous. We are facing, and I had discussion with many people, but when you discuss with them, really, it's not God of the gap. If universe, they are the God of the gap themselves, because if the universe had an absolute beginning, how, as a materialistic way, in which what materialistic explanation can you have of that? It's not a question of the God of the gap. God of the gap is to explain, when you say it's impossible to go from matter to life, the leap from one to the other is too big. There is probably something else. They say, okay, it's just because you don't understand that. So you give an explanation to that, and your explanation is God, and this is the God of the gap. But this is not really very serious. So God of the gap, it's not serious. For example, for the beginning of the universe, we don't have a God of the gap. It's clear that if our universe had an absolute beginning, then there is a creator God. It's not a God of the gap. It's clear. It's logic.
Yeah, no, I love that because you do have people saying that science shouldn't even be asked to prove God. Like you should keep them apart fully.
This is what they
Because
say. This is what they say since science is demonstrating the existence of God. Because before, they
oh,
were just saying the opposite. Before, for example, if you take this biologist, Nobel winners, French, uh, they, they they were writing a book of science, and at the end they were saying, "We know now by science that God does not exist." That's at a long time ago. So at that time, scientific were using very much science to say that God does not exist. But since science seemed to demonstrate that God probably exists, then they don't like science. So they say science should not be that, it has a name which is NOMA, no overlapping magisterium. So it's something which has been created recently, like God of the Gap, to say let's not make confusion between science and faith, between physics and metaphysics. But there is no reason. We can mix it very well. And for example, you see the question: of the absolute beginning is a question which is philosophical, religious, and scientific. It's a question which is all three. So if we know that there is an absolute beginning, everybody recognizes that there is a creator God. This is what the materialists, they all are convinced there is no absolute beginning.
Hmm.
They
And
cannot. They cannot accept it.
for you, is the book then a, because it is for everyone, it's not just for scientists, as you said before. Is Do you think the book is a precursor to faith? You know, like do you think it still takes faith to fully accept a creator God, that a faith that goes beyond
Mhm,
the scientific evidence?
mhm. Um, in a way, of course, yes, of course, in a way. I like the image, the following image, the following analogy. I will give you an analogy. You know, in the big shopping centers, you have many floors. Huh? And you have baby stores, you have beauty stores, you have perfumes, you have toys, you have you know, everything. You have different floors. So it's starting usually in the basement. So in the basement, the second underground is hard atheism, and the first basement below the floor is agnosticism. And the ground floor is deism. God exists, we don't know anything about him. So we are the elevator. So the purpose of the book is to take people in the second floor underground in the parking, which is parking lot, which is completely dark, and it's to take them from atheism to the ground floor, which is deism. But there we stop. If they want to know better, if they want to know more about the question of religion, which is who is God, what does he say, what does he think, what is he offering to us, then they have to take another book. So in the way I can answer to you, yes, we are helping that. We are making a part. We are making a part of the path. You know, we are making half the way of it. But then after there is another half, and each has to follow his mind and so on. But our book is a common elevator from atheism to deism, and it's common from, I would say, everybody, all Christian, of course, but not only Christian. We have had some Muslim people very happy. We had Muslim meetings where they said, we have never had a book which is talking science about God. So they were very delighted. And voilà.
That's great. Speaking to Christians specifically, though, what encouragement would you give to any Christians who sometimes feel nervous about engaging in science? Because you have a lot of Christians. It's changing in some ways now. I think people are being more open to it, but you still do have a lot of Christians who are more traditional, and when they have new scientific discoveries, they almost fear that it will shake their faith.
Yes, because it's a result. It is a result from what happened from Renaissance to Freud and Marx, 1900. Because during 4 centuries, all the discoveries which happened seem to say we don't need God anymore. Voilà, we know now about the moon, the sun, everything we know all that, we know the animals, so we don't need God anymore. So that's what happened. This is why they're fearing. But now it is just the reverse. And what I want to say to people is that we can believe in God just by faith. It's many people do that. Faith is not stupid. Faith is a lot of things we have because we have a soul. We have miracles, small miracles every day, including the feelings that God is with us. And we could, but somebody very intelligent, I think it was perhaps the Pope John Paul II, said, man is like a bird with 2 wings. And the wings, there is a wing of faith and there is a wing of reason and science. So if we want to be comfortable in the air, we should have faith on one wing and we should have science and reason on the other. So it's good to, even for some people who have a very strong faith, it's very good to read a book like this, because then you know that what faith tell you is true, but not only is true, but it is also uh, supported by science and reason, which is wonderful. So I think, yes, we are like a bird with two wings. We need to know a little bit of science to it will make us very happy.
Now, what for you is the one idea from science, the one big idea from science that you wish more believers in God did understand because it would strengthen the faith that they already have?
Well, there are plenty. There are plenty of things. We have been talking of the absolute beginning. It's clear that it's a key. You know, it's a key of understanding. If our universe had a beginning, then there is a creator God. But there are things which are very fantastic. For example, we have two chapters. I didn't say that just before. I forgot to say. We have two chapters about the Bible. And the Bible, uh, many people have said that there were many errors in the Bible, there were many mistakes, it was legends. And now, if you read the Bible correctly, it is just the opposite. The cosmological views of the Bible are just fantastic, because at the time when the Bible was written 3,000 years ago, it's very interesting to know that all the nations, all the people, all the races on on the earth, they were all of them, all, they were all believing that the sun was a god, divinity. They were all believing that the moon was a divinity also, and there were only a very tiny people on earth who believed that it was not true, that the sun and the moon were only lamps in the sky just to give light. And these people, very small, uneducated, people living under tent with just sheep, and they had nothing. But the only one who knew everything on the cosmological, it was the Hebrews. So the Bible was right, and all the other were wrong. So we are making a chapters on that, because it's fantastic to see that the Bible, at the opposite of what people believe, is not at all a pile of legend, a compilation of legend. It's not true at all. It is full of cosmological, completely true truths. It's fantastic. So if people want the chapters, as I told you, is the chapters of the book are independent. You can just pick up the book and just, for example, start with a chapter about the Bible. You don't have to read what is before or what is after. You can read that chapter. It's very, very interesting.
No, that's great, and this has been amazing. It's been amazing to learn from you about the different aspects and ideas covered in the book, and it does fill you with confidence as a Christian myself. That yeah, I can, these things, my beliefs can stand up to science when people for years have been trying to tear it down, and I don't see that tearing down as much happening now, which is really positive. And I guess a fruit of that, a result of that, with the success that you've seen that we mentioned earlier in France, Italy, Spain, etc. Do you feel like there is hope for religion and belief in God in Europe in a time where a lot of people think that religion and faith and belief in God in Europe is dying?
Um, alors, I believe really that these discoveries can contribute very much to a reversal, to a great reversal also of beliefs, because everybody has been educated, uh, everybody at school, learning that science was opposing faith. Science and faith were opposing. So more or less, we have been crafted like that by our by our studies. And now, in the future, with this book, but I hope many other one, and the fact that these discoveries are going to be more people will be more aware of it, will realize that it is now the opposite. And I hope really that these discoveries scientific are not the only one, but it will contribute to reversal of faith in Europe. And it's a part of our work to say, uh, listen, read to all this. It's very interesting, and you will see that the, the poor and stupid people are not the Christian. The poor and stupid people are the materialist. Just read it, and you will be convinced. So, voilà. This is well. We hope to contribute to that. Yeah.
That's brilliant. It's been so fun to speak to you, Michel. It's been an honor to learn
Thank you.
from you, and it's exciting that the book will be made available elsewhere in English as well. And I must say, I speak to a lot of Americans on the podcast, and they always compliment me on my British accent. But it's been delightful to hear your accent today. It's you're very easy to listen to, so I appreciate your time today.
Thank you. It's on the 14th of October in the US and in the UK. 14th of October.
Brilliant. And I'll be putting links below so that people can get it. But yeah, thanks so much. It's been great to learn from you, Michel.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you very much. It was very nice. Thank you.
Thanks for watching For All the Saints. This show needs your help to grow. Please like the video, comment your thoughts, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone you think would enjoy it. Thank you.